Hello and welcome to Success Series YouTube channel. This is Ravi, and today is supposed to be a special occasion for me. It's my birthday today, and I thought of doing a episode that I have been wanting to do for some time to share with you my life's 10 important quotes that I either live by or try to live by. I feel it is important to choose your quotes intentionally because that should define you, that should give you direction, and it is like listing your core values. So your quotes do not replace your core values. Of course, you have your set of core values, but having a set of quotes that define you is a great addition beside of your core values. I often ask my friends and encourage people to list out their top 10 quotes. As I said, it's a great exercise towards intentional living. So, great. With that, let me share with you my top 10 quotes. Great. Here we are. And before I share my quotes, let me also share with you that I have a new Twitter account. It's called Zen Compounding. And this is where I share, I'm more frequent at sharing my ideas there. And Twitter is my favorite platform to share ideas because the entry barrier is less. You do not have to do a lot of homework to create content. You can share. That's why it's called tweet. You can share bite-sized ideas, something that crosses my mind, or maybe I'm reading something interesting and I want to share something interesting, or a conversation, or a retweet from somebody who is interesting. And also, the platform is quite open, so the ideas flow easily, far and wide, and you also engage in a lot of constructive conversations and idea sharing. You get a lot of like-minded people, unlike Facebook, which is closed wall. It's only within your existing friends, so you have to add people. But Twitter is like open. You can just ideas flow fast, as I said. Yeah, so I look forward to see you there. As I said, I post there more frequently than any other platform. With that, my first quote, and my first quote comes from my mentor Rajesh Sethi. Rajesh is somebody that I've known for a past decade or so, but in the last 2 years, I have engaged more deeply, and yeah, he has influenced me a lot. And this is a quote that I had shared a few months ago, and it resonated with a lot of you people. A lot of you had liked and shared and commented. And the quote goes like this: "They will continue to ignore you until you become so valuable that it hurts to ignore you." And this is something uh, that also resonated with me. And it taught me to stay relevant and stay valuable all through my life. And if you commit yourself to give value wherever you are, to the world, to your family, to your friends, to your employee, your workplace, or your business, if you commit to stay valuable, then you will get a red carpet welcome wherever you are. And then nobody can ignore you at that, because the world rewards value. The world rewards what you give value to them. And that's exactly why this is my favorite quote. And if you live with this mindset for the rest of your life, you would never you will live a fulfilled life, is what I feel. Because yeah, as I said, the world will treat you as a special person. And yeah, it's something that I always believe that when you start giving value, or you become intentional about giving value cannot happen without self growth. So if you are intentional about giving value, that can only happen when you are yourself growing, learning, and investing in yourself. And one of my favorite quotes is again, life equals growth, and stagnation equals death. So if this becomes your mindset, then growth is only going to happen all through your life. Number two favorite quote comes from Abraham Maslow, again a very highly influential man. And Abraham says this: "Life is an ongoing process of choosing between safety out of fear and need for defense, and risk for the sake of progress and growth. Make the growth choice a dozen times a day." And this is something that I've also learned the hard way. In the past, I have sometimes taken choices for safety over risk, and eventually, at the first instant, it looked like a much wiser choice, but it comes at the price of growth. And yeah, and this has happened to me. And today I make more conscious choices. If there are two things, I would choose for the ones that is risky, because the risk comes with its own reward, and a very good reward, and a very valuable reward, and that reward is of self growth. You become more sharper, you become more ready for the world, you become more um, yeah, I'm losing out of adjectives, but the point that I try to say is, usually if I have to draw an analogy towards jobs, right? In the past, if you would have seen, that in India, especially, if there is a government job and there is a private job, people tend to go towards government job. But if somebody has spent in an industry for say an average of 15 years, both equally sharp, but go to one goes to a government job, and one goes to a very promising corporate job. Then after 15 years, when you meet them, that, I mean, of course, no offense, but I'm not saying there are no exceptions, but more often than not, government jobs, because it provides complacency, because it provides a security cover around you, you tend to not, there is no incentive for you to grow. So when you meet these two people after 15 years, you would see a drastic difference in terms of their knowledge, in terms of their skill set, in terms of um, the sharpness of mind, and that comes because one is fighting for survival and trying to stay a step ahead, because he has to stay relevant in the industry, and somebody who has already got assurance for a job for the rest of his life. There's no incentive for him to keep growing and learning. So yeah, safety and risk. If you have to choose two, always choose for one that is riskier, because the rewards is higher. And this has been a life lesson for me. Excellent. So next one is my favorite again, and this the reason it is my favorite is because this is something that I crafted it, and this came to me as an insight with my observation of life in general, and I realized that. Let me read out the quote, and it says, "If you're hard on yourself, life will be easy on you, and if you're easy on yourself, life will be hard on you." Um, and this came like an aha moment to me when I first wrote this quote for myself. It came as an aha moment, and I realized this is so true. Somebody who is disciplined, especially, let's draw an analogy and take an example of elite athletes. Okay, the top sports performers. We see the rewards, we see the shiny stuff, like the prizes they win, the championships they win, the the glamour that they have, the money that they make. Uh, we see all of that, but that is a reward that they receive as a result of strict discipline. They have to show up every day at a certain time to either in the gym or at the place of practice. And because of that discipline for years, sometimes decades, they are reaping the benefits. So life became easy to them because they worked hard on themselves. But if you're easy on you, if you are not disciplined, if you do not work hard, because working hard is difficult, and because if you're not working hard and if you're easy on you, and you take those shortcuts and you do not pay the price, then what happens is life becomes hard on you. Either you say, if you're say working out, if you're not working out, then you attract an unhealthy lifestyle, then you attract disease. And then if somebody is actually working really hard, he attracts a healthy body, and he stays fit and active for most part of his life. Yeah, so this is my favorite. Of course, this is mine, but also I thought this is quite profound. Quote number 4. This comes from Hunter Thompson, and Hunter says, "Life is not a journey to the grave with the intention of arriving safely in a pretty and well preserved body, but rather to skid in broadside, thoroughly used up, totally worn out, and loudly proclaiming, 'Wow, what a ride!'" So this is again I think this I wrote this, added to my kitty 7 8 years ago when I first read it, but it had a big impact in me because also this is close to the previous quote about comfort and safety, isn't it? We all have one life. We have a very short life, say an active life of 80 years, so to say. Post that, of course, if you are healthy, you can stay active and you can stay also contribute to the society. But active is 80 years, and in that 80 years, provided you are lucky, of course, you can die out of corona tomorrow. But as long as you live, you just have one short life. How do you want to live that life is a choice, of course. You can live that in comfort and not going out of your comfort zone and not trying to accomplish what you might accomplish. So for me, one of my life lessons has been that one should maximize the potential of what he has, because if you die without maximizing the potential, that is such a waste of your life, of you as an individual. So 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 if self-preservation and safety becomes a priority instead of adventure and experience, then I think it is a life wasted. And because most people say, this is risky, and no, no, this will hurt me, or this will wipe off a few years of mine. Oh, this will need sacrifice away from my family and friends and get-togethers and stuff like that. But it's a choice. Do you want to die with a well-preserved body, or do you want to be thoroughly used up? And when you die, you say, "Wow, what a ride!" So again, my favorite quote, and I try to live by it. Quote number 5. This comes from the mighty Helen Keller, and similar to the previous one, life is either a daring adventure or nothing at all. So we all have life choices. In fact, last week I interviewed Prasanna Veerasamy on my YouTube channel. Prasanna and his wife made a decision that they want to travel all around the world, and they made it. They traveled 195 countries before they were 45 or so. And why did they make that choice? Because they saw life as a daring adventure. They did not see life as something that just to live by, but they took charge of it, and they wanted to make this one life into an adventure. And that's why they made that decision to travel all around the world. So exactly. So this is something that comes from Helen Keller, and if you know Helen Keller, she herself was deaf and uh, not dumb, but she was not able to hear, and she was not able to see. She was blind and she was deaf. And if this has to come from her, and if she says life is a daring adventure, then for us mere mortals who have all the faculties intact, if we live life like handicaps, then you can see the contrast in the attitudes towards life. So yeah, this is my quote number 5. Next is quote number 6. This comes from Helmstetter. Sorry, Shard has become a big influence recently in my life. I've been consuming a lot of content of Shard. In fact, you see here there are 2 books from Shard that I'm reading: What to Say When You Are Talking to Yourself, and The Power of Neuroplasticity. So I've been consuming a lot of content of Shard. He's becoming a big influence lately, as I said, and this is profound. And the reason this is profound is everything that you do at every moment in your life is actually contributing to make the future you. Now I'm doing this video. I'm recording this video. The experience of this recording of this video is actually contributing to my future self. Every experience of my life is contributing to making the future self. If that is what it is, then why should I not involve or indulge in activities and experiences that is going to make an empowering and a grand future? So what this quote has made me is it has made me intentional, and it has made me more aware of how should I make my present, how should I design my present, because if the present has such a profound influence, in making my future, then why should I not be very, very mindful and careful about how I am spending time within my present? So what this experience has taught me is I'm more mindful. I usually, it has brought a lot of clarity in me to see, okay, whatever I'm indulging now, the conversations that I'm having now, the content that I am taking in, the books that I'm reading in, the friends that I am talking to, is it helping me create the future me, or it is acting opposite to what I want to become? So it acts as a great filter to me, and has made my choices very easy. So yeah, this is quote number 6, very profound, my favorite from Shard. You must also read Shard. Maybe I'll do a review of this book. I will do a summary, not a review, but a summary of this book in one of my future episodes. Quote number 7. This comes from Henry David Thoreau, and Henry says, "What you get by achieving your goals is not as important as what you become by achieving your goals." Again, a profound thought. One of my favorites. If you have followed me, my videos, you know how big I am into goal setting. In fact, my community was called Goals Driven Life. I changed it to Success Series later. But goals is what I strongly believe in, because it shapes you. It just brings a lot of action to your life. But more importantly, when you are chasing a goal, of course, the end goal is your reward. But the bigger reward is what you achieve in the process of achieving this goal. Say, for example, you want to shed 10 kgs of your body. Now, the process of achieving this goal, of course, you shed your 10 kilos, but what you do in the process is you gain resilience, you gain discipline, you acquire mindsets, you acquire skills, you acquire strength, focus, and a lot many things. So, of course, you shed 10 kilos, but that is not just the reward. Along with that reward, you have acquired a lot of other things that might not be visible to you, but you have acquired it. Same is the case. So, say, suppose you are a lead, a developer, okay, and you want to become a director. In that process, when you achieve a position of a director or a VP, of course you become that, you achieve that title, but in the process you have acquired communication skills, you have acquired leadership skills, you have acquired presence, executive presence, and a lot. So again, so this is a favorite of mine, because it's not the goal that is as important, but what you become by achieving that goal is important. All right, so this was 7, last 3 to go. Number 8 is, your greatest asset you have is your vision of where or who you want to be. Paul Arden. Uh, Maybe, arguably, this is my most favorite quote of all. This is such an such an influential quote, such an important quote. Very few people uh, can can measure the potential of this quote. Very few people can actually understand the depth and the strength of this quote. Because if you understand this, then it can change your life immensely. And I have been quoting this quote a lot of times whenever I talk to friends, whenever I talk to my clients who I mentor. I often start with this. I usually ask them, draw out your grandest vision of your own self in the future. Say, in the next, where do you want to be? How do you see yourself in the next 10 to 15 years, 20 years? Start from there, and they start sketching. I said, don't think small. Think, you have this one life. What would you envision? Where do you see yourself in the next 10 to 15 years, if you had everything to achieve it? That's where I start, because, as it says, the greatest asset is not the amount of money you have in your bank, your wealth, or the number of friends that you have, or the degrees that you have accumulated. It's the vision of where or who you want to become, because that eventually brings a lot of clarity of everyday choices. As I said, If something is not contributing, this is similar to the previous quote that I said, right? If something is not contributing towards that vision, then you would say no. So it brings a lot of clarity there as well. And that becomes your asset, because if you have a clear vision of where you want to be in the next 10, 15 years, you would refuse to do anything that is not contributing to that vision. Good. Quote number 9. And this is, since I do not have the source of this, it's because cannot attribute to who said this quote, but the most important relationship in your life is the one you have with yourself, is again a very, very important quote to live by. And this comes from the analogy that you can draw is whenever you take a flight and you see the flight instructions given, safety instructions that are given before takeoff, and they usually say, wear your own masks before you help your children or people around you. And the reason is, if you do not have your own oxygen mask, how will you have the strength or the resources to help others? All right. So how can you have healthy relationships with others if you do not have a healthy relationship with yourself? And this is something that very few people do it. Very few people are intentional about building a healthy relationship with themselves. Not many people invest in relationship with themselves. Not many people even have the time to spend with themselves. They're so busy in their lives playing different roles of a parent, of a teacher, or of a employee, or of a boss, or we play different roles, and we try to um, make our relationships better with others in all these different roles. We try work really hard, but what is most important is how you maintain your relationship with you, because that is going to define your relationship with others. If the relationship with you is not healthy, if the relationship with you is not empowering, you would not have the wherewithal or the resources to have healthy relationships with others. So yeah, so I have become so after I have become conscious of this, I intentionally have conversations with myself. It could be through journaling, through introspection, going on long walks with myself, having conversation with myself, doing self talk. Self talk is something that this book tells about. I'm going to do a future episode on that as well. Yeah, so these are some of the techniques that I do. At least an hour of conversation with myself is very, very important. All right, last but not the least, with Ralph Waldo Emerson, again a thought philosopher and a big influence on my life. I've read a lot of literature from Ralph, and this is something that is my favorite. Again, the only person you are destined to become is the person you decide to be. So what this quote tells you is to take charge. If you want to become somebody, then it doesn't help because it's just wishful thinking. Wanting to become something does not translate into becoming that, unless and of course you decide to become that. And decision is the strongest force that you can take in your life. Very few people make a decision to do something, to commit to something. I mean, taking a decision means committing to something. And I have learned this the hard way, that over the last several years, I have become good at taking some of the decisions. Of course, there are other areas that I have not been able to take a decision and commit. But I have seen it in the last few years that there are some decisions that I took, especially career decisions, especially what I want to do next decisions. Um, and those decisions, earlier I used to always say, this is what I want to become. But over the years, from want, it has become a decision. So yeah, many people usually want to become something, and it's usually a wishful thinking. But yeah, according to this quote, you should move from your wish to make a decision. So these are my top 10 favorite quotes. I hope you like them. I would urge you all to also list out your own top 10 quotes. Maybe, if not 10, maybe top 5 that defines you, and maybe share it in the comments below, and we can have a conversation around it. Maybe I do a live session, and then we can have a discussion on your quotes. But yeah, please share your own favorite quotes, and it will be a great conversation to have. With that, thank you all. I hope you like this episode. If you like it, please, why don't you subscribe it, so that these ideas go and reach out to a larger audience. I usually feel very shy asking people to subscribe, but subscription helps me stay motivated. If more number of people get added to my YouTube channel, it just helps me get motivated to create more such content. And I can promise you there is some more exciting content that is going to come in the next couple of months. See you then. Bye bye.